Welcome to the 4th episode in our 5-part series on privilege.
Episode 4. Alright, let's do this.
Now, we have 2 very special guests with us today to help us figure out what ability status is. You ready to meet them, Teddy?
I'm so excited!
Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Teddy.
Hey, Allie.
Oh look, it's a Glee cast member. Yay?
Wait. Lindsay, I thought you said we have 2 guests.
Oh geez, Teddy, at least look at Allie. She's sitting right there. I mean, standing? What do you call someone who's just there on the wheelchair? Wheelchairing?
Lindsay, I thought you said we have 2 guests.
We do.
I gotta say, Teddy sitting in Lindsay's lap right there, that just confirms everything that's been said about Teddy thus far. I'm sure Lindsay and the puppeteer are just having a blast right now.
Well, I don't see anyone else. Where are they?
She's right here, Teddy. I'm sitting in her. Teddy, meet Twilight Flake. She's my trusty chair.
Okay, you have made this extremely difficult to make fun of. I mean, how do you mock someone in a wheelchair and not come off as an insensitive prick? I mean, damn it, queer kid stuff.
Allie, what are your pronouns and how do you identify?
Again, for the love of all that is holy, why do I need to know her pronouns, and what in the ever-loving snot her sexuality has to do with, I know, a dubiously titled children's show that deals with privilege?
I use she, her, and I identify as bisexual.
Great! Does Twilight Flake have pronouns?
Twilight Flake likes she, her pronouns.
Okay.
Wait, you didn't ask Twilight Flake what her sexual preferences are? Yay, we're back in business!
Allie, Teddy and I have been talking a lot about privilege and why some people might have it and others don't.
I love that. Privilege is really important to talk about.
And you're barely going to mention it.
There's a lot to talk about, Teddy. Okay, so you can obviously see that Lindsay doesn't use a chair to get around and I do, right?
Well, yeah.
That's because I'm an able-bodied person. That's my ability status.
Exactly. Because I use a chair to get around, I'm not able-bodied. That's sometimes called being differently abled or disabled.
No, it's called disabled. Differently abled is a made-up, soft term. Just ask George Carlin.
Cripples! Simple, honest, direct language. There's no shame attached to the word cripple that I can find in any dictionary. No shame attached to it. In fact, it's a word used in Bible translations. Jesus healed the cripples. Doesn't take 7 words to describe that condition. But we don't have any cripples in this country anymore. We have the physically challenged. Is that a grotesque enough evasion for you? How about differently abled? I've heard them called that, differently abled. You can't even call these people handicapped anymore. They'll say, we're not handicapped, we're handy-capable.
I usually prefer to say that I am disabled, but everyone identifies as different.
We've met a lot of people who identify totally differently, right, Teddy?
Yeah, everyone has their very own special identity.
Let me ask you something, folks. If certain people decide to make themselves as disabled, what do you call that form of identity? Because I would classify someone who poured a corrosive chemical into their eyes on purpose to become disabled as a lunatic.
For most people, going blind would be a nightmare. But for Jewel Chooping, it was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. 9 years ago, Jewel took the drastic decision to blind herself, and she researched the method she would use.
I found that drain cleaner is little less painful, although it does a lot of damage to the eye. Because drain cleaner was easily available to me, I went with that.
She found a psychologist willing to help her, and after 2 weeks of working together to make sure she was ready, they carried out Jewel's plan.
Sometimes it's really easy to tell if someone is differently abled or disabled, but sometimes it isn't. You shouldn't assume that someone's ability status is based on how they look.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to call bullshit on that, Allie. It's fairly plain to see a variety of disabilities. Deaf people wear cochlear implants or hearing aids. Those are visible. Blind people require a specialized cane or a seeing eye dog. People like you roll around in wheelchairs. Those are physical disabilities that are valid and they can be very plainly seen. Now, if you're talking about someone who has an anxiety disorder, you're right. I can't tell if they're afflicted with that or not. But again, how does that define someone's privilege?
The biggest thing you need to know about people like me who are differently abled or disabled is that our bodies work a little bit differently than able-bodied people like Lindsay.
And that's where privilege comes in. I have a lot of privilege because I'm able-bodied.
Getting around for me can be a little bit hard because not everything is made for people like me.
Is there a People Without Disabilities Act that I'm unaware of? I mean, in the vast majority of the Western world, disabled people have accessibility features that are built into every facet of society so that they can function like everybody else. Parking spots, ramps, specialized toilets, voice and braille on elevators for the deaf and blind. I'm not saying that that makes you privileged, Allie. I'm just saying that those privileged folks you seem to be ragging on in this morose excuse for a series seem to be doing an awful lot for those without privilege to elevate their privilege so no one is privileged.
Allie, I have another question for you, but I don't know if I'm allowed to ask it.
Well, you can ask me anything, Teddy. Okay. You know, Teddy, that's a good question, and I get it all the time. Do you mind if I tell them what you asked me? Okay, Teddy asked me why I use a wheelchair.
See, this is proper children's television material right there. Why can't you make all of your content like this, guys? I mean, really. I'm going to skip over this because there's nothing really to respond to.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Allie, and for teaching us all about ability.
You're so welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you so much for watching, and to Allie and Twilight Flake for helping us out today. Now we'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for new videos every other Wednesday. You can check out our other episodes in our Privilege series in the links below. Next time, we're talking about mental health.
Awesome.
Oh boy. I can't wait to hear about queer kid stuff and mental health. Seeing how this series is run by a bunch of left-wing lunatics who think explaining concepts like privilege, drag queens, and anal play to little kids is suitable. Time to find a print. Peace.